morning. It is the Sunday before Christmas, so it isn't surprising that Janine Bryant of Changing Spaces SRS is here with me to talk about Rightsizing, of course. Merry Christmas. Good morning, Janine.
Good morning. Merry Christmas, Dale.
You wouldn't call yourself this, so I'll call you this. You are a Rightsizing Santa. Okay, and you know that, and the reason I say that is because you dip into your bag of experiences every Sunday morning and share them with our good listeners, and you come up with gifts of advice for people. We've been doing this on the radio now for about a year on Sunday mornings, and I just wanted to acknowledge you and put you into a Christmassy sort of place here for our conversation today.
Thank you, Dale. Yes, I try to reach into my bag of tricks every week and see what I can pull out to help, inspire and educate our listeners and help them, think about new ways to get going on their right-sizing journey.
And she's good at it. She's good at it on the radio, and she's good at it out there in the real world. Christmas is all about family and tradition. So this morning, why don't you start by sharing a story about both?
Yes. Okay. So this is a story. I can't take credit for it because one of the, there was a fellow that attended a presentation that I gave probably over a year ago. And I give lots of presentations around town to various groups about the right-sizing process. And I, just try to leave them little nuggets of information here and there. And at the end, I always do a question and answer period. And this time, this fellow raised his hand and he said, I want to share with you something that my wife and I have done every year for the last few years because we are trying to downsize, and it's something fun that we do at Christmas time. And get ready, because this is such a great idea that I told him I am going to steal that and I am going to use it for years to come because it's such a great idea. He has started a tradition in his family that he calls Grandpa's Christmas Auction. Okay. And I wanted to share this with our listeners today because this is something that all of you can do this Christmas, whether you are in person or even if you're over Zoom with your family, this is something you can do. So every year, this fellow for Grandpa's Christmas Auction, he and his wife look around their home and they find things that they are ready to let go of. Okay. Now, maybe these are things that they no longer need, use, or want. Or maybe they are really special keepsake type items that they really want to keep in the family, but they know that they no longer need to physically keep them in their home. Okay. So maybe they are planning to move in a year or two down the road. And so they're trying to whittle down their possessions. And if there's a porcelain vase, that came from the great grandmother that they would really like someone in their family to keep, but they don't necessarily need to keep it, they put it on the dining room table. Okay, so they go around the house, they gather up all these items, and they fill the dining room table with all these items that they're ready to let go of. And then when all the kids and all the grandkids come over for Christmas, or this year if you're meeting over Zoom, when you're all together, what he would do is he would hand out Monopoly money. Every kid or every grandkid got a certain amount of money, Monopoly money, and that was their money that they could bid on in Grandpa's Christmas auction. So he would pick up one item at a time and he would auction it off. And the grandkids could place their bids on an item. And whenever, whoever was the winner, they had to actually pay for that item with their Monopoly money. And that's how they divided up the items that they had accumulated on the dining room table that they were ready to let go of. And here is the genius part of it. Okay, not only are they kind of sneakily getting rid of some things, right, out of their home, because everything that they had collected on that table went home with someone else that day. But here's the genius part of it. They also created a memory by doing the Christmas auction itself, right? And so not only are they passing on memories with those keepsake items, but they're creating new ones. Okay, so I guarantee you, let's say that one of the items was a vase from great grandmother that was auctioned off at Grandpa's Christmas auction, and one of the grandchildren bought it with their Monopoly money. I guarantee you that they will keep and treasure that vase that came from the great grandmother, and it won't have anything to do, quite frankly, with the great grandmother. It will have everything to do with the memory they created with their grandfather during Grandpa's Christmas auction. Right? Because we have talked time and time again on this show that we only keep keepsakes that really mean something to us. That's why the kids never want your stuff, right? All of you listeners out there, that's kind of the bemoaning cry of the baby boomer generation. My kids don't want my stuff. They don't want your stuff only because it doesn't have any memories associated with them. If you do something like this Grandpa's Christmas auction, suddenly you have created a new story, a new activity, an experience, a memory for your children and your grandchildren that is associated with this item. And now it has a whole new layer of meaning with it. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And another element of genius to this is the fact that it creates engagement with the entire family. If I was going to give, I have a small family, I just have one child, but if I was to, let's use my family, for example. I'm the oldest of 6. So if the 6 of us were gathered around, we'd say, okay, I really want Grandpa's old chair that he had in the legislature, but I also want this. How about if you let me have this, I'll bid on it, and I'll let you have this, you can bid on it.
Absolutely. Yes. It turns it into a game and an experience. And boy, isn't that a lot better than sitting around and watching football on a holiday or everyone looking at their phones, right? So it's a great experience to share with your family. And it's sort of, it's a fair way of dividing things up. And this fellow who shared this idea with me, he said they do it every year and they've been doing it for several years. So I just think that's awesome. I think it's so fun. So that's one idea, okay, for creative ways that you can declutter this holiday season. Now, if you maybe don't have a lot of grandkids, but if you are planning to downsize and, maybe declutter in the next year, another idea that we have heard people using is actually the opposite of an old traditional idea. Okay, so we all know what a housewarming party is, right? When a young couple maybe moves into their first home and everyone comes over and they bring them practical items for their housewarming gifts. Well, how about this idea? Flip that on its head and have a house cooling party instead. All right. So instead of layering up all of the items in the home, we're going to be shedding the excess items in your home and we're going to cool down this house. So whoever is gathering at your home or via Zoom this holiday season, I want you to require that each and every one of those people take something away from your home when they leave. Okay. And here's another trick. If you really would like to get something out of your home this Christmas, just wrap it up, put it under the tree or deliver it to someone's house, to their front door, ring the doorbell. And if you disguise this thing as a Christmas gift, then there's no way they can refuse. Right. And so that's a great way of decluttering your home. This works better for maybe items that are not practical items, or they're not keepsake items, but they are practical items. Okay, so maybe you go out to your garage and you realize you have 17 screwdrivers. Okay, maybe you don't need 17 screwdrivers. Maybe you can keep 5 of them, and the rest of them you can divvy out to any members of your family, your friends, your neighbors, someone else who could use them. Practical things like that, sheets, towels, blankets, extra stuff like that, lamps. It also works great if you have a family member, a friend, or a neighbor who is setting up house for the first time. Maybe they're moving out of mom and dad's house, they're getting their own apartment, or they recently got married and they're setting up a home. Listen for those opportunities in the people around you and then take advantage of them, because we all have excess in our house, don't we? And we might as well use that excess to bless someone else. And something that I really love about that, it's giving it directly to someone that could use it, is that it cuts out the middleman. I don't know if any of you have ever been inside a Goodwill store or dropped donation items off at a Goodwill store. But it's no secret that they are overwhelmed with donations and stuff. And so if you are able to donate your items directly to someone else who could use them, it just cuts out the middleman, right? Those charities are overburdened and overworked already. So if you could just give it directly to someone who would use it, so much the better.
Your examples, I'm drawn to the tools. That would be something to get my attention. But you also mentioned linens and towels. You do a lot of auctions, Janine. And I'm guessing, because I'm just going by the behavior of my wife, when she finds that there are quality sheets or things that fit our beds and would go with our decor, towels and sheets are pretty valuable for people who need towels and sheets in good shape.
Absolutely, yes. And you know why people do that is because linens are very expensive when they're new. And so here's what happens. So those items do actually sell pretty well at our estate sales and our online auctions. But then the other side of that is for women. I can just speak as a woman. I know that when those kinds of things go on sale, so when we're in a store and we see, oh, they're having a linen sale and it's a good quality item, we tend to buy it. But then when we take it home, we don't necessarily get rid of the old item. And so that's why most of us here in America have 17 sets of towels and 12 sets of sheets, right? And maybe the 3 beds in our home. So that's one of the reasons why that happens.
See, as a guy, I would rather buy a used hammer, a used set of wrenches, a used set of screwdrivers, or a level. I think all of my tools either came from my father's farm or I went to an auction or picked it up at an estate sale.
Nice.
It's just somebody's hand has been on this hammer handle for 50 years. And
Yeah,
I don't know
that.
whether the hammer knows what it's doing or whether I know what it's doing. It doesn't matter. But I just like the feel of a hammer that's been used.
Done some work.
Yeah, it's done some work.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Speaking of auctions, how does it look for you going into the new year for auctions?
Well, we are continuing to do our online auctions, which they've been a lifesaver through this COVID mess that we're in. We're not doing any in-person sales right now while we're in that, red zone, but we are continuing to do online auctions because it's a great way for us to help our clients empty out their houses. But then also a great way for our shoppers to shop safely online, in their home from their phone or their desktop or their laptop computer.
And I'm going to pause it here, Janine, because I've been scrambling. And, of course, you can always hop onto the internet. You can go to easyrightsizing.com for right-sizing tips, videos, resources. If you want to learn more about Janine's services at Changing Spaces, that's the place to go, www.changingspacessrs.com. All right, well, this is the last chance I have to talk to you before Christmas, so have a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you get what you want.
Oh, thank you, Dale. Same to you. Merry Christmas.
Janine Bryant from Changing Spaces SRS. Join us next week for Easy Right Sizing.